Whispers of the Lake. The village of Clearwater lay cradled between rolling hills and a shimmering lake that reflected every shade of the sky. It was in this quiet town that Evelyn lived, a young painter whose canvases carried the hues of dawn and the secrets of the water. She had moved there years ago to escape the noise of the city, hoping that the calmness of nature would breathe new life into her art. Each morning, Evelyn would sit by the lake with her sketchbook. She painted not just what she saw, but also what she felt, the laughter of children echoing from the distance, the gentle ripple of the water when the wind passed, the scent of wildflowers that bloomed along the shore. Yet, despite the beauty around her, a quiet loneliness lingered in her heart. One autumn evening, as the sun dipped low and scattered gold across the water, Evelyn noticed someone at the old wooden pier. A man sat there with a notebook on his lap, writing with such focus that he didn't even notice her watching. His presence intrigued her. The next day, she saw him again. And the next. Sometimes he wrote, sometimes he simply stared at the horizon as though waiting for an answer only the lake could give. Finally, curiosity overcame her. "Excuse me," she said softly, approaching him one late afternoon. "Do you always sit here?" He looked up, startled at first, then smiled. "I suppose I do. The lake listens better than most people." His name was Daniel, a writer searching for words after months of silence. He confessed that he had been struggling with a story, and that somehow, the lake helped him untangle his thoughts. Evelyn laughed at the coincidence. She too had come here to find inspiration. From then on, they began to meet almost every day. She painted while he wrote, sometimes in silence, sometimes in conversation. Evelyn found herself sketching his silhouette into her landscapes without realizing it, while Daniel noticed that his empty pages slowly filled whenever she was near. Seasons changed. Winter brought frost that painted the lake silver, spring wove blossoms into the hills, and summer stretched golden across the fields. With each passing day, their bond grew deeper, built not on grand gestures but on small, quiet moments, the way he handed her a thermos of tea on cold mornings, the way she tucked stray strands of hair behind her ear when concentrating. One evening in midsummer, as fireflies began to glow along the water, Daniel turned to her. His voice trembled slightly. "Evelyn, every word I've been searching for, I found in you. Would you let me write the rest of my story with you in it?" Her heart swelled. She had always believed love was something wild and overwhelming, but with Daniel, it felt like a gentle tide, steady and inevitable. "Yes," she whispered, her hand finding his. "And I'll paint it, too." From then on, the lake became more than a place of inspiration, it was the witness of their love. Evelyn's paintings grew brighter, infused with the warmth of their shared laughter. Daniel's stories blossomed, filled with hope and tenderness. Years later, villagers would often see them still by the pier, the painter with her canvas, the writer with his notebook, and between them an unspoken vow that the lake itself seemed to guard, that love, when it is true, is not just lived, but created together, word by word, color by color. Whispers of the Sea. The coastal town of Avellini had always been a quiet place. Waves kissed the shore gently, and seagulls painted the sky with their distant cries. It was here that Elena, a young painter, lived in a small cottage by the cliffs. Her days were filled with the scent of salt water, the sound of crashing waves, and the soft strokes of her brush against canvas. Though she loved the sea, Elena often felt an emptiness within her. She painted sunsets and storms, but none of her works ever seemed complete, like they were waiting for a missing piece she couldn't quite find. One autumn evening, as the sun bled orange across the horizon, Elena noticed a figure standing by the lighthouse. Adrian, a sailor who had recently returned to Avellini after years abroad, was staring out at the ocean with eyes heavy with memory. They met by chance when Elena dropped her sketchbook in the wind. Adrian caught it before it could tumble into the sea. "You draw the ocean beautifully," he said, flipping through her pages. "I try," Elena replied, a shy smile on her lips. "But something is always missing." From that evening on, they began to meet often. Adrian would tell her stories of distant lands, the markets of Marrakesh, the frozen seas of the north, the endless deserts under starlit skies. Elena listened intently, her eyes bright with wonder. In return, she showed him her paintings, each one a piece of her soul. Slowly, something began to bloom between them. Adrian, who had spent years drifting from port to port, found in Elena a sense of home he never thought he'd discover. And Elena, who had always felt incomplete, realized that her paintings grew richer, more alive, when Adrian stood beside her. One night, under a canopy of stars, Adrian confessed, "The sea has always called to me. But lately, it feels less like freedom and more like loneliness. When I'm with you, Elena, I feel like I've finally anchored." Her heart fluttered at his words, but fear lingered in her eyes. "And if the sea calls again? Will you leave?" Adrian took her hands, rough and warm from years of sailing. "I don't know what the future holds. But I know this, I don't want to keep searching when I've already found what I was looking for." Their love deepened with the rhythm of the tides. They walked along the shore, painted together, and shared silences that felt fuller than words. Yet, as winter approached, Adrian received an offer from an old crew to join another voyage. The night before his decision, Elena painted furiously. She stayed awake until dawn, her brush moving with desperation. When Adrian arrived, she revealed the canvas, a ship at sea, but tethered to the shore by a single golden thread. "This is how I see us," she whispered. "No matter where you go, you'll always be tied here, to me." Adrian's throat tightened. He had thought he wanted the ocean, but in that moment, he realized his heart no longer belonged to the waves, it belonged to her. He stayed. Years passed, and the people of Avellini grew used to seeing them together, Elena painting by the cliffs, Adrian repairing boats at the harbor. Their love became as much a part of the town as the lighthouse itself, steady, unyielding, and guiding. And every time the sea whispered to Adrian, he would smile, hold Elena's hand, and answer softly, "I've already found my harbor." The Garden of Forgotten Letters. The town of Evermere was a quiet place, nestled between rolling green hills and a lake that shimmered like glass. In that town lived Evelyn Hart, a young woman who owned a small bookstore filled with worn novels and forgotten letters tucked between their pages. She had always believed that love existed only in stories, not in real life, until the day she discovered a letter hidden inside an old poetry book. The letter was dated 1942, written by a man named Thomas Hale to a woman named Margaret. His words were full of longing, speaking of a love he could not let go, a promise to return after the war. Yet, the letter was never sent. Evelyn held it in her hands and felt something stir in her heart, as if the words were written not only for Margaret, but for anyone who had ever waited for love. One evening, while the rain tapped against her shop window, a young man entered. His name was Daniel Rivers, a historian who had recently moved to Evermere to research the town's past. He was tall, with kind eyes that seemed to notice every detail. When he browsed the shelves, he found Evelyn holding the letter. "What's that?" Daniel asked with curiosity. "A love letter," Evelyn replied softly. "One that never reached the person it was meant for." Daniel smiled. "Maybe we could find out what happened to them." And so began their journey together. They searched through dusty archives, old journals, and the memories of Evermere's oldest residents. With every discovery, they grew closer. Evelyn, who once believed love belonged only in books, began to notice the way Daniel's gaze lingered on her, the way his voice softened when he spoke her name. One summer afternoon, their search led them to a forgotten garden behind the ruins of an old estate. There, beneath a willow tree, they found more letters carefully hidden in a rusted tin box. They were all written by Thomas, each one filled with devotion and hope, though Margaret had never read them. Tears welled in Evelyn's eyes as she whispered, he loved her until the end, even without knowing she felt the same. Daniel looked at her, his voice low. Sometimes love is like that, quiet, patient, and unwavering. In that moment, Evelyn realized something. The letters had not only led her to Thomas and Margaret's story, but to her own. She turned to Daniel, her heart racing. "Do you believe some loves are written in destiny?" He reached for her hand, his fingers warm around hers. "I believe ours might be." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The forgotten garden, once silent, now bore witness to a new beginning. From that day forward, Evelyn no longer thought of love as something that belonged only in stories. She carried it in her heart, in the laughter she shared with Daniel, in the quiet moments of searching, and in the belief that sometimes, when you least expect it, love finds you in the most unexpected places, between forgotten letters and the turning of a page.
离上门又四转。